Water, fire, mold, and sewage damage in Colorado Springs. For over 25 years, our local family-owned business has been restoring homes and a peace of mind across the Pikes Peak region. When the unexpected hits, you need a team that certified professional.
Emergencies are unpredictable, but you don't have to be unprepared. Peak Alerts sends you targeted emergency alerts in real time for the places that matter to you most, so you know what's happening and what to do next. Know first, act fast. That's the power of Peak Alerts.
Hey there, crew. Good morning to you. It is Tuesday, February 10th. You are watching Peaks2Plains Weather and Mornings with Meister, and I appreciate you doing that here early this morning on what is going to be a different feeling day across the area. There is no doubt about that. Yesterday, our high temperatures across the region were very, very warm. In fact, we missed out on a record by 1 in the Springs and Pueblo. Hit 70 in the Springs, 77 in Pueblo, and look at that, some 80s over the far eastern plains. And so, yes, indeed, he's certainly a warm one out there. Even Alamosa got into the 60s. But overnight, a cold front came into the area. And it's going to be a little bit of a different day out there. Now, temperatures this morning aren't too bad. It is a little bit cooler than what we had yesterday in some areas, especially up against the front range here, as we sit about 10 to 20 degrees below average. But that's just going to be more and more noticeable here as we head through the day today. And I do have a special guest that is about to join me here to talk about some of the warm weather of recent sort of note here. But before I do that, I want to show you Banjo's barometer for today. He's got his sweater on, crew. Easy to understand 0 to 10 scale of if it's going to be nice or not. And Banjo's going with a 5. We'll talk more about why here coming up in just a little bit. I'm going to put my headphones on. We're going to bring in our guest here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Levi Heidrich from Heidrich's Colorado Tree Farm Nursery. Levi, my friend, how are you this morning?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you very much. So there's a reason that I have you on this morning, Levi, because I sent you a couple pictures yesterday afternoon, and I got a photo from somebody else over the weekend that sent me something. And so I'm going to show this picture here. I'm going to bring you up in the double box, and we're going to look at this. This is from Todd Sipe, who lives kind of southwest of Pueblo. And this is, I think he said it was a cottonwood here, but as Todd gets out, he takes photos of nature and whatnot. So he's kind of really in tune with these things. And he said over the last week, he's noticed the buds in the tree swelling. And he thought that that was a little bit earlier than they normally do. You being the tree expert from Heidrich's Colorado Tree Farm Nursery, is that true? And is that something that we should be concerned about?
Oh, it's true. With the warmer or lack of winter, the warmer weather that we're having, we're starting to see things kick into activity a little bit earlier than I would say normal.
Okay.
The buds are starting to swell. So trees like cottonwoods, aspen, your poplar family, maples, linden that have larger visible buds that are set in the, they're present in the fall, but they're going to start swelling up now as we warm up. The nighttime temperatures aren't as cold. The daytime temperatures are warmer than average for this time of year. So we're definitely starting to see some activity. You're seeing our iris starting to grow in your yard. Some of the seasonal flowers are trying to poke up, especially on the south side of the houses and retaining walls,
sure, things
like that. So it's definitely earlier. There's years where we don't see a lot of activity till April, even early May. Sometimes we have a forsythia bush at the nursery by our office, and we can always kind of gauge the spring when the yellow flowers pop up. And while it's too early for that, I have a hunch this year we're going to see the yellow flowers a couple weeks earlier than normal.
So obviously, the weather ebbs and flows, and you're talking about it's not completely abnormal to see these plants sort of responding to that stuff. But does it put them at risk a little bit? Like if we were to get let's say a unseasonably cold snap kind of in March versus like a wet kind of snow, typical March kind of snow that, sort of insulates everything when snow falls?
I think it depends how far along we get. So if we actually start to see leaves and flowers, green tissue, then yes, that tissue is susceptible to frost damage or freeze damage. It varies so much. We could get cold again. I've seen some of the models you've put out and others that say we might cool off, and that'll kind of slow things down again. But that there's many years in around Mother's Day, early May, where we get a late spring freeze, and the temperatures get down below 22 degrees is kind of where we feel good about things. Below that, and that's again when they're leafed out. If we get down in the single digits, even negative temperatures now, it really won't hurt anything. There's no green tissue. The trees are still in their dormancy, so they're protected. But once we see green tissue, that's where the freezes can become a little bit more damaging.
Okay, so like in this picture from Todd, it's okay then because the bud, like being tight together like that, keeps them okay. All right. Correct. I have another photo for you. This is from my yard yesterday afternoon. And this is a Chinese maple, so beautiful red leaves and whatnot in the fall. But I went outside and it looked like someone had, if I had an irrigation issue, but I'm like, my irrigation's not turned on. Were some kids messing around in the yard? I mean, there's look like water dripping off of this thing. What's going on there?
Right. You need to tap that puppy and get us some sugar, some good maple syrup.
Okay, so it's the sap from that thing.
It's the sap, and it's pretty specific to maples. So they have in their cells, in the ray cells, which is the cells that are in the deadwood of the tree, they actually have a gas instead of just water. So it's caused by the freeze thaw. So we see it generally late winter, early spring when we have warm days and cold nights. And basically during the gas expands, it creates suction, so it pulls water from the roots up into the tree.
Okay.
And then during the daytime, the opposite, it forces it out. As it thaws, it puts pressure on those gas cells, and it pushes the sap out of pretty much any little wound, pruning scar, crack. You got a squirrel, a woodpecker, and you'll see that sap run down the tree.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt it. They've got enough stored energy. If it's a healthy tree, that it'll be fine. Still have enough energy to leaf out in the spring.
Okay.
So it's not something you should really freak out about. Not the best time to prune maples. because they will lose more sap out of those
Got it.
wounds. So we want
Got
to
it.
wait for that process to stop. Usually it'll stop once we get consistently warm again and the trees break dormancy. Then that sap you won't see a leak like that.
Okay. So, I mean, this tree does have some cracks and whatnot, like down in the trunk or whatever from, some of the quick expansions over the years, but that's probably normal, I would assume, for that kind
Correct.
of tree.
You've got that more mature bark. And I mean, a lot of things on trees are wounds. They're where they bud out, where those bud breaks open, that's considered a wound. You get little squirrels take bites out of them where you prune them. And it's really common. We'll start to see it on the trees in the nursery where the bark's wet on certain spots. And it's just part of being maples. And like I said, they're still protected. They've got enough sugar in that sap that it won't freeze necessarily. So that's how the trees protect themselves. It's kind of like antifreeze. It prevents it from completely freezing, expanding, and cracking the trunks.
Got it. Levi, what this time of year do you see as an expert in this stuff that most homeowners probably aren't doing that would help their bushes, their trees, even their grass, I guess, be more healthy kind of coming out of winter here, heading through spring over the next couple months?
I think the big thing this year is the water, the lack of the water. And I know that it's, we've had an above average snow for Colorado Springs. I think last month we were a little bit higher, but it hasn't done as much, I guess you will. We're starting to see signs of, especially conifers will show winter burn and things like that. Whereas deciduous trees, we won't know till they leaf out if they're damaged or not. So I think the big thing is make sure you are winter watering, especially stuff you planted the last few years. Drag a hose out, turn on a sprinkler, let it run slowly on your lawn. Your grass is also important. But I do think we're probably going to see more drought damage, winter burn, winter desiccation on plants and trees, unless something changes here pretty dramatically in the next couple months coming out of winter into spring.
Okay. Levi, last thing I have for you this morning. I know you're busy. I know you have a delivery to make. What's the difference between, you can go buy plants at a big box store, but what's the difference between a locally owned, your dad started Heidrich's. What's kind of the difference, I guess, if I'm going to one of those big box stores versus what I get at Heidrich's?
Well, that's a great question. I appreciate that, Matt. It's so different. It's not even apples to oranges. It's apples to nails. We're your filter. I mean, since my pop started this, my mom and my dad, I mean, from day one, it's been about selling quality. And I would rather not sell you something from the wrong source, if you will, like an aspen grown in Colorado, and I'll pick on aspen versus like an aspen grown in Oregon or Washington.
Sure.
While they're the same tree, they don't have the same genetics. They don't have the same ability to tolerate, like our cold, for example. Our trees are used to that. They're acclimated to that. So I think myself and I think most of our local, which are mostly family-owned nurseries and garden centers in Colorado Springs, we focus on quality, and that's a big part for us, especially like I said, I'd rather not have it than bring something in from somewhere that's not going to do well for our customers. And so I always tell people, we're your filter. We're not, while we are here to make a living, we're here to make a profit. We got to do it the right way. And we want our customers to be successful too. And that means we grow a lot of our trees and shrubs and perennials in Colorado and Idaho, climates similar to what we deal with, especially in El Paso County. I'll argue that El Paso County, Monument, Palmer Divide, up here, it's different than even Pueblo, Denver. We deal with a lot of things that a lot of people just don't understand. So that's it. I think that's in our service. We've got a great staff. We've got amazing people, and not that the box stores don't, but I mean, our people generally have a passion and a love for plants and all things green, and they like helping our customers make the right selections.
Well, Levi, thanks for the insight this morning. Getting comments that lots of people are like, yeah, it's a really strange winter. Thanks for the info. I appreciate your insight. I've always had a great experience with what I've bought at Heidrich's and with your staff. So thanks for taking time this morning. Like I said, I know you have a delivery to make. So have a good morning, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too, Matt. Love your new show, man. You're doing great things.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. So that's Levi Heidrich, my friends. He is such a good dude, and you should go see the crew at Heidrich's Colorado Tree Farm Nursery. I'm telling you, I went outside yesterday, and man, what was happening with that maple was just freaking me out. But, you know, it's nice to hear Levi say that, hey, that's okay. And he's got, you know, good information there. And Heidrich's is at Woodman and Powers in Colorado Springs, just to the east of the hospital. All right, let's talk some weather here. Then I'm going to take some of your comments from you this morning. And so we'll get our day underway here. We do have a different day on the way from what we had yesterday. You see a lot of clouds coming in from the west. There's a system off the west coast. That's our pattern change that we've been talking about for several weeks now. And behind the cold front that came through last night, we have some high clouds over the western and northern part of the area this morning, and they're trying to spread off to the southeast. I think those clouds are going to play a role in how it feels outside today. You know, I'm a big proponent of feel. Some of these over the cities are going to be mountain wave clouds. They'll tend to be thick. The mountains will provide some lift, and we'll have quite a bit of cloud cover all day long. Farther southeast you go, the more sun you're going to have. And as we head into the overnight, we start to pick up some snow for the mountains. That's good news. That's the leading edge of our change for the back part of the week. But here is what is going to be kind of the driver of why it feels different outside today. It's going to be a big temperature drop out there, a big temperature drop. I'm talking 25 degrees from what we had yesterday. If you remember, I started the show off with temps in the 80s out across the far eastern plains and missing a record by just a little bit in the cities. So obviously that's going to be a difference for us. But the other thing that's going to be a difference is the wind. Now, this computer model isn't all that strong with what it's showing over areas east of the mountains here. In fact, across the board, it's not showing wind as strong as yesterday. But behind the cold front, we get an enhancement of this localized mountain plains wind pattern that we usually get. If there's not something big like a cold front coming through, normally we have a little breeze off the hills during the overnight. Middle to late part of the morning, that usually switches around and starts coming out of the south or southeast. Again, most days. The large-scale pattern behind the cold front today actually enhances that, and this is one of those situations where models underdo it a little bit. So I've got some wind later on today between 10 and 20 miles per hour. I think that and the clouds help you feel and experience the cooler temps from what we had yesterday. So that's just something to be aware of. I think you're really going to notice that in a pretty big way. Then as we head into the overnight, we start to see the situation change up a little bit. And I'm going to head over to the weather wall here and start to talk about our extended forecast. Because you notice during the day on Wednesday, we start to get back into this westerly flow, this downslope flow. That's as the ridge builds back in ahead of the weather change for the weekend. And so on a breezier day with some gusts, we're going to be warmer on Wednesday. Not that you're necessarily going to notice it when you wake up. In fact, some areas I think are going to be cooler than today. We'll have more 20s out there than the 20s and 30s we have this morning. But by the afternoon, while it's not yesterday's record or flirting with type stuff, it's certainly warmer than it's going to be today. And I do think we'll have some clouds passing across the region again. Thursday is a warm day, at least into the early afternoon, and then the temperatures are going to start to drop a little bit. And that's because our weather change starts moving our way. You see this nice circulation here off the coast of California. You see this moisture tap, or good moisture tap, I should say, coming into the western U.S. And we have had a couple snow showers up across the mountains here early this morning, so that's some good news. What I'm going to do now is put the flow lines on here. So you see kind of the streamlines moving along here. I've got the energy in the atmosphere represented in the orange and red. And I want to talk about what happens here for the back part of the week. Because Wednesday we're dealing with the ridge. Mountains are getting a nice moisture tap. We start to get some snow. Man, we need it across the high country. We get into Thursday afternoon. We still have this little bump over us, but it's starting to shove off to the south as the energy starts to move in. So late in the day, as we do push that front off to the south, we may get a couple showers developing along the eastern slopes of the mountains and parts of the plains. Then we get into Friday night and Saturday. The system moves through. We're on the northern edge of this trough. Friday's going to be kind of a cool, unsettled type day. And we just have to watch how far south this system is and if it has a circulation or not. Now, this model's a little bit farther south than yesterday. I haven't adjusted my forecast for that yet. I want to see another run of it here this morning. And so if I say model, putting the clouds and precipitation on here, you see we open the door for the snow in the high country. Then we get into Thursday, and remember, we start to shove the ridge off to the south late in the day. A couple showers possible as we head late Thursday into Thursday night, mainly north of Highway 50. An unsettled type day on Friday, but you see your eyes probably grabbed that most of the moisture with that system kind of stayed south of Colorado. If it ends up on that track, that will be the case. But again, I want to see another model run of that because some other models are a little bit farther to the north. But here's the best news with this system. Snow is on the way to Colorado's high country. I'm kind of focusing on the central and sort of northern I-70 resorts here. I think a widespread kind of 6 inches to a foot of snow is sort of on the way there as we head over the next couple of days. Snow east of the mountains will be sort of driven by what kind of happens with the path of that storm. So that's something I have to watch here over the next couple of days. I have updated forecasts on the 24/7 channel. If you haven't checked that out yet, it's on Roku and Fire TV, still waiting on Apple TV. It's on the homepage of the Peaks2Plains Weather app, which you should download. Share with your friends, please. This is kind of a grassroots movement that we are doing here and something I want to make you aware of. So Marty is asking about the storm track. Marty, good morning. And we just covered that. So, that's something we don't have to worry about. Nancy says, I really like the wind map. It makes it easy to understand. Good, Nancy. I'm trying to sort of evolve and grow what I'm doing and how I'm serving you. And I'm working really, really hard on doing that. So that is something that we'll continue to work on. Jennifer made this comment probably when I was talking to Levi, said really strange winter. I agree. It has been interesting. And like Levi talked about, if you look at the numbers in Colorado Springs, we've been above average on snow in December and January, even though December was the warmest January on record for the state of Colorado. We had that one storm early in December that kind of skewed the numbers a little bit. They didn't have much other action. And then we had that storm in January on the 8th and 9th, that late week storm that put down on either side of a foot of snow in the Colorado Springs area. And so if you look at, in fact, since I'm talking about it, let me see if I can pull up really quick our drought here, because it's interesting over the state. And I actually wrote about this on Peaks2PlainsWeather.com yesterday or the day before, I don't remember, but that we don't have drought conditions here in the cities, but if you look across the state, we certainly do. And let me pull this up here for you and make sure that it's all ready to go. And you can see that across the central mountains, the northern mountains from about Leadville up toward Copper Mountain, and then from Aspen kind of up the Roaring Fork toward Glenwood Springs is where we have the deepest drought. But then kind of heading north of I-70 there is where we have some drought conditions. If I zoom in to the southeastern part of Colorado, you see here that in the cities, we aren't even listed as abnormally dry. And so, we do have kind of a developing sort of low-end drought over the southern Sangre de Cristos toward Walsenburg and kind of on Highway 350 out toward La Junta. But in the cities, we're actually doing okay. So, it's all a matter of perspective, because Carlene here says that I love the warmth. Yeah, it's nice to be outside, that's for sure. Something that certainly is, might as well take advantage, right? If our weather is that way. So let me show you here, if you're just joining us and you missed the forecast for later on today, I'll do that before we kind of get going for the day. If you have a question, put it into social media here, or you can join me I keep saying this, and I think some of you are a little bit hesitant to come on, but I'd love to have it. Every day in the posts that I make about the live show here, I put 2 links for you to join me. In fact, I'll add that on a page today on Peaks2PlainsWeather.com. So you can do that because the links don't change every day. But you can come on, you can put that into a browser on your desktop computer or in your phone, and you can join me. Peaks to Plains, our weather together. I want you to have those handy so that when the weather's nasty and I'm doing live coverage of our storms, because I'm not on a schedule here other than my live show every morning, we're going to do live weather when the weather is nasty. I want you to help report it. I don't want to put people out on the roads when I'm telling people you probably shouldn't be out on the roads. But man, every little nook and cranny of Colorado, we can get people to come on, open the door, like through the windows out onto the deck, or go out onto the deck, show us the winter storms happening. If you're in a safe spot during, tornado warnings and things like that, you can show us a storm that's maybe 20 miles away from you. How cool is that? I built this for you. It's our weather together. So I'm pretty excited about that. And you can come on the show, like I said. Okay, here's what's happening today. 40s and 50s out there, which is a huge difference from the temperatures that we had yesterday. I mean, here are the numbers if you missed those earlier. We got into the 80s out across the eastern plains, so it's a 25-degree drop. And hard not to notice that, right? So, okay. Kathleen has a comment here early this morning. She says, are we going to have a really hot summer? Kathleen, we'll certainly have some hot days. It's summertime. Don't need me to tell you that. But I haven't looked at that part of the long-term forecast yet, so we'll just focus kind of on the warmth that we've been having around here as of late. Last thing before I let you go, we'll end with Banjo's barometer. Some of you missed it earlier. It's my easy to understand 0 to 10 scale of if it's going to be nice or not. Banjo, he's got his sweater on there. He's a little dog. He's going with a 5 for today, and that just sort of feel from yesterday, all about the feel. It's going to be different. And then I do have a new segment. It's called Banjo's Buddies. And this is really funny picture here from Sean and Holly in Manitou Springs. This is Brady. And look at Brady is straight up hugging, like it's all lounged, hugging that teddy bear there, which I think is great. I'd love to share your 4-legged friends, your cats, your fish, your bearded dragons, whatever you might have here on Peaks to Plains Weather. And you can submit your photos by using the Submit Us tab on the Peaks to Plains Weather app. So if you don't have it yet, grab the QR code here, go to Peaks2PlainsWeather.com, and on Peaks2PlainsWeather.com, you can download the app. You know where it is. It's right on the homepage there. I make it easy. It kind of pops you down to the middle part of the page there. Then you can go to the App Store or Google Play. A couple other things you can do on there. You can buy some Peaks to Plains merch if you want to rep it. If you want to support, you can do so there. I got a comment here from Janine, who says, I am picking up my merch today. Janine, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it. And when somebody's like, hey, what is that cool drop? You can tell them it's Peaks to Plains Weather. And you can tell them to download the Peaks to Plains Weather app. So thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. That's it for me this morning, crew. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll update the extended forecast if the computer models this morning are kind of looking like what they did overnight and last evening with that storm for the weekend. But I'll give you the extended forecast here for Colorado Springs and for Pueblo as we head out the door this morning. Remember, in the Peaks to Plains Weather app, whenever you want it for your specific location, I've got that extended forecast. I've got it hour by hour, and I add important information in there about what I'm watching, where things are trending. So we're going to get a little bit cooler here for Friday into Saturday. By Saturday afternoon, I think we're going to be okay. Friday is looking like the coolest and most unsettled day for most of us. And then we get warmer here into the weekend, and then we might be heading into a period with some wind. So crew, have a fantastic Tuesday. Thanks for watching. I'm Matt Meister. You're on Peaks to Plains Weather. Wherever you are is where I am 24 hours a day. Have a good one.